And it is a fact that our local government is in need of strengthening. It is a fact that it is in need of reform. And it is a fact that we would all benefit if our local government was strengthened, if our local authority members were empowered. I believe they are the public representatives who are closest to the people and closest then and best positioned to strengthen our democracy. And strengthening local democracy does mean empowering our local authority members, those who have a mandate from their local communities. I'm one of those local authority members. I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert in planning. I'm not an expert in financial management. I'm not an expert in an awful lot of things. But what I am an expert in is listening to my community and hearing my community. And then I have developed skills to advocate on their behalf. And that's an incredibly powerful tool in our democracy. And it is one that our current our local government structures don't sufficiently value. And that's just a fact, you know. And it doesn't value it sufficiently in terms of how we have structured the individual local authority member's role, in terms of how we resource it, in terms of how we value it. And Senator Crockwell talked about security. Absolutely. I've come from a meeting with the Irish Council of Civil Liberties, and they talk about the attacks on democracy and the attacks on politicians. They also talk about, though, the attacks on journalists, they talk about the attacks on NGOs, they talk about the attacks on the Gardaí. So we live in a violent world. But local elected representatives, they work out of their homes. They work on the go. Dublin City Councillors don't have an office to work out of. The largest local authority in the country, the elected members do not have an office where they can securely invite a constituent in to meet them. That's unacceptable working conditions for anybody. That is unacceptable working conditions for anyone. And you know, the executive functions, good luck to them. But they are operating in a completely different space to the elected members of Dublin City Council. They actually, it's not like they're operating in luxury, but they do actually have some basic conditions of an office, of security on the door, of resources. Elected members of Dublin City Council are expected to put together a city development plan. 5 years it has been historically. We're talking about 6, 8, 10 years. That is a wonderful privilege to have an opportunity to have a say, but they're not given any resources to do it. They have no allowance to get expert advice, to get expert consultation, to do research. We're not setting them up to succeed. We're setting them up to take a beating. The imbalance between the powers, between the elected representatives and the executive functions are wrong, and they have to be corrected. And Minister, I would appeal to you to correct them. I would appeal to you also to recognise the responsibility that the local authority members are taking on. Anytime there's a crisis, if there's a flood in a community, if there's a fire in a community, if there's a pandemic, it is the local authority which responds. It's the elected members who advocate and try to direct the local authority on how best to respond. Those local authority members need to be supported to do that. And we'll talk about the joint policing committees in terms of the policing bill that's coming through here. But Minister, I want you to know that for our elected members to be able to represent their communities, to ensure that the communities that they're representing are provided with adequate policing and ensured adequate safety, they need a forum at which they can hold those who are charged with delivering that safety to account. That's what the joint policing committees do. 4 times a year, once a quarter, local authority members can meet with their chief superintendent from the Gardaí, with the senior executive management from the local authority, and they can hold them to account for delivering safety for their communities. That is why it is critically important, if we're moving to a community safety partnership model, that all of the local authority members are empowered to be members of that, along with their Oireachtas colleagues, that a local authority member is the chair of that forum, and that those forums meet 4 times a year in public with the Chief Superintendent and the Senior Executive Manager of the local authority. Here, look, I appreciate, I'm over time, and I appreciate your indulgence. My colleagues will speak on this issue as well. And Minister, I want to thank you for your time here today.